The story opens with a young widow living in a small, weathered cabin at the edge of a dense mountain forest. Since the death of her husband, she has been navigating life alone, surrounded by the silence and shadows of grief. Her home is humble but tidy, with a small hearth that she keeps warm, not just for herself but as a symbol of hope and perseverance. Despite her sorrow, she has a comforting routine, preparing meals from scratch, tending a small garden, and quietly helping neighbors who come knocking for food or advice. Cooking has become her way of coping, a form of expression when words often fail her, and a small but meaningful way of connecting with the world around her. Although she finds some solace in these tasks, an ache lingers in her heart, a longing for children she cannot have. The realization that she is unable to conceive has left her feeling incomplete, as though a part of her womanhood has been taken away. She hides this pain from the world, masking it with smiles and selfless acts of kindness, but at night, in the solitude of her cabin, the emptiness presses in. She dreams of laughter and little footsteps, of sharing meals around a bustling table, and the life that might have been. Her grief is compounded by loneliness. Neighbors respect her, but few understand the depth of her sorrow. She has become invisible in some ways, defined by what she cannot give rather than what she offers freely, yet, despite the weight of her losses, she carries a spark of resilience. The kitchen becomes her sanctuary, the act of feeding others a reminder that she still has value, that she can nurture even if she cannot bear a child. It is in these quiet, deliberate moments, kneading dough, chopping vegetables, stirring a simmering pot, that she feels alive, holding on to hope that life might still offer her something meaningful. This sense of quiet strength sets the stage for the story, hinting that even in the shadow of despair, love and new beginnings might find her in the most unexpected way. One crisp autumn morning, the quiet of the mountain village is interrupted by the arrival of a stranger. The man is tall, broad-shouldered, and carries the rugged appearance of someone who has spent years living in the wilderness. His face is shadowed by a thick beard, and his eyes hold a depth of experience that hints at both sorrow and resilience. He comes to the village seeking supplies, moving with a deliberate caution that suggests he is not used to or comfortable with social interactions. Whispers follow him through the streets. The townspeople are wary of outsiders, especially one as imposing and solitary as he. Yet, beneath their cautious curiosity, there is a grudging respect for the man who clearly survives on his own, thriving where others might falter. Drawn by the smell of cooking as he passes the widow's cabin, he pauses. The smoke rising from her chimney carries the promise of warmth and nourishment, something the mountain man has long gone without. When he knocks at her door, she is startled but welcomes him inside, offering a meal. Her voice trembles slightly as she warns him, "Sir, I cannot bear children, but I can cook for you." It is a simple, honest confession, the kind that comes from years of vulnerability and quiet resilience. She braces herself, unsure how he will respond. Yet there is a calm in his presence that puts her at ease. As they sit at the table, the widow watches him eat, noticing the way his eyes soften at the taste of a well-prepared meal. She realizes that, for the first time in many months, someone is appreciating not only her food but her effort, her care, and perhaps unknowingly her heart. The mountain man, in turn, is quietly intrigued. He has spent much of his life alone, wary of attachments and human frailty. Yet there is something in the widow's presence that feels grounding, warm, and unexpectedly comforting. This encounter marks the beginning of a subtle but profound shift. Both carry their own scars, but through shared space and a simple meal, a connection begins to form, a connection built not on expectations or conventional roles, but on mutual respect, quiet understanding, and the possibility of something more. The stage is set for the bond that will gradually transform their lives. In the days following their first meeting, the widow and the mountain man begin to cross paths more frequently, though neither forces the interaction. He returns to her cabin, drawn by the warmth of her hearth and the comfort of her company. She, in turn, finds herself looking forward to his visits, curious about the quiet strength he exudes and intrigued by the stories glimpsed in his eyes. Their conversations start cautiously, small talk about the weather, the forest, or the village, but gradually they deepen. He shares fragments of his solitary life in the mountains, the harsh lessons he has learned, and the loneliness that has been his constant companion. She listens with empathy, her own grief giving her insight into the hidden sorrows of another. Through shared meals, chores, and the rhythm of everyday life, a subtle bond begins to form. She teaches him the finer points of cooking, how to season a stew just right, how to knead dough until it springs back with life. He, in return, shows her ways to navigate the rugged terrain near her cabin, lending his knowledge of the mountains and practical skills that make her life easier. These small acts of cooperation and trust build a connection that feels natural and unforced. Their companionship is comforting. It is a quiet companionship without the pressures of expectation or obligation, yet beneath the surface, both are aware of the fragile nature of this emerging closeness. She worries that her inability to have children might one day push him away, a reminder that she is somehow less than in the eyes of society. He, too, feels a twinge of fear accustomed to solitude. He wonders if allowing himself to care for someone might make him vulnerable to loss. Despite these unspoken concerns, the pull between them grows undeniable. As the days turn into weeks, the widow begins to feel a stirring of hope, a feeling she thought was lost forever. She starts to imagine a life that isn't defined by what she cannot give, but by what she can offer: her heart, her strength, and the simple joy of shared experiences. And the mountain man, hardened by years of isolation, finds himself longing for her presence, realizing that companionship, trust, and shared life might be the treasures he has been seeking all along. As the bond between the widow and the mountain man grows, the story shifts from simple companionship to deeper emotional intimacy. One evening, a fierce storm descends on the mountains, trapping the man at her cabin. The wind howls through the trees and rain lashes against the windows, creating an atmosphere both tense and intimate. In the flickering light of the fire, the widow finally allows herself to open up in a way she hasn't with anyone since her husband's death. She speaks of her grief, the quiet nights spent alone, and the ache in her heart for the children she will never have. Her voice trembles, not just from fear of the storm outside, but from the vulnerability of revealing her deepest pain. The mountain man listens silently, his own stoic exterior softening as he hears her story. When he speaks, he reveals his own hidden wounds: a lost love, years of self-imposed isolation, and the regrets that have kept him from trusting others. For the first time, he allows her to see the cracks in his armor, the parts of himself he has always kept hidden. The storm outside mirrors the turbulence within them both, and the sharing of these truths forms a bridge between their two solitary hearts. Through these confessions, they realize that their connection is not based on superficial qualities or societal expectations. It is built on empathy, understanding, and the recognition of each other's humanity. The widow sees that despite her perceived limitations, she is capable of profound love and care. The mountain man discovers that opening up does not make him weak. It allows him to experience companionship and trust, things he had long thought were beyond his reach. By the time the storm begins to subside, both feel lighter, as if a weight has been lifted. The night's vulnerability fosters a closeness that transcends mere friendship or attraction. It is the beginning of a true emotional partnership. Each realizes that love does not have to be perfect or tied to conventional ideals. It can grow from understanding, acceptance, and the willingness to face one's fears together. That evening marks a turning point. Their hearts, once guarded and wounded, begin to heal in each other's presence, setting the stage for the deeper joys and challenges that lie ahead. With their emotional walls beginning to crumble, the widow and the mountain man start sharing life in a more tangible, everyday way. They discover that love doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Often, it grows in the quiet, ordinary moments that, over time, become extraordinary. Mornings are filled with the smell of fresh bread baking while he chops wood for the hearth, and afternoons are spent tending the garden together, planting seeds and harvesting vegetables. Each small task becomes a shared ritual, a language of care and connection that strengthens the bond between them. The widow finds a new sense of purpose in teaching him how to cook, not just for survival, but with creativity and love. She experiments with flavors and recipes, laughing when mistakes are made, and he responds with gentle encouragement, eager to learn. In turn, he introduces her to the ways of the mountains, how to track animals, navigate hidden paths, and survive in harsh weather. Through these lessons, they develop mutual respect, recognizing each other's talents and strengths. Each shared success, no matter how small, becomes a tiny miracle, proof that together they can thrive. Laughter returns to their lives in a way it hasn't in years. The mountain man, once so solitary and withdrawn, begins to smile more freely, and the widow feels her heart lighten with every shared joke and playful moment. They start to create traditions of their own, evening walks in the forest, cooking special meals for no reason at all, and evenings spent talking by the fire about hopes, dreams, and the future. Their connection deepens not because of what they lack, but because of what they can give: companionship, care, and joy. Through these small miracles, the widow comes to understand that family can take many forms. It does not require children, but rather love, trust, and shared experiences. The mountain man, too, learns that life can be richer when shared with someone who truly sees and values him. Together they begin to create a home, not just a physical space, but a sanctuary built from their mutual support and affection. These everyday joys, subtle yet profound, lay the foundation for a love that is resilient, nurturing, and capable of weathering life's inevitable storms. As the widow and the mountain man continue to nurture their relationship, their bond begins to ripple outward, touching the wider community. At first, the townspeople watch from a distance, curious about the unlikely pair. Whispers circulate: a widow who cannot bear children, a reclusive mountain man who has shunned society for years. Many are skeptical, expecting the union to be short-lived or doomed by circumstances. Yet, as time passes, their doubts begin to fade. Neighbors notice the changes. The widow's once lonely cabin is now filled with warmth, laughter, and the smell of home-cooked meals. The mountain man is kinder, more approachable, and visibly happier. The couple's growing partnership becomes a quiet example of what love can look like when built on understanding, respect, and shared life. People begin to seek them out, not just for food or guidance, but for comfort, advice, and companionship. The widow's generosity and culinary skills, once seen as simple acts of survival, are now recognized as gifts that enrich the community. Meanwhile, the mountain man's strength, practical skills, and willingness to help others earn him respect, slowly erasing the reputation of the solitary, feared outsider. Community events and daily interactions allow both of them to experience acceptance in a new way. The widow, who once felt defined by her inability to have children, realizes that she is valued not for what she cannot provide, but for the love, effort, and spirit she offers freely. She becomes a cherished figure in the village, celebrated for her resilience and kindness. The mountain man, who had long been a shadow in the town's peripheral vision, begins to feel a sense of belonging he never thought possible. This chapter of their story highlights that love and family are not confined to traditional expectations. Through the couple's example, the community learns that compassion, generosity, and emotional connection matter far more than societal standards. Acceptance, both from themselves and others, allows them to flourish individually and together. The widow and mountain man are no longer isolated. They are part of a living, breathing network of relationships built on mutual respect, admiration, and the quiet joy of shared life. Even as their life together grows richer and more joyful, the widow and the mountain man cannot completely escape the fears that linger in their hearts. For the widow, the thought of her inability to bear children continues to whisper doubts. She worries that, despite the bond they share, he might one day seek someone whole in the conventional sense, a partner who could give him a family. These insecurities gnaw at her, sometimes surfacing in quiet moments when she feels particularly vulnerable, leaving her questioning whether she is truly enough for him. The mountain man, too, faces his own inner struggles. Years of solitude have left him wary of attachments and deeply protective of his heart. The prospect of loving someone fully frightens him. He fears loss, rejection, or even the possibility that his emotional scars might drive the widow away. Though he has begun to trust her and share his life, old habits of isolation and self-reliance surface during moments of doubt. These fears test their growing connection, threatening to create distance where there should be closeness. Yet their love proves resilient. Through heartfelt conversations, patient listening, and gentle reassurance, they confront these inner anxieties together. The widow confides in him, sharing the depth of her insecurities, and he listens without judgment, offering words of affirmation that she is valued and loved exactly as she is. He, in turn, reveals his fears about vulnerability, and she responds with compassion, reminding him that true strength lies not in isolation, but in the courage to open one's heart. Small acts of reassurance become powerful affirmations of their commitment. She leaves little notes of encouragement, prepares meals that speak of care and attention, and shows patience when he hesitates to share his feelings. He demonstrates his loyalty through consistent actions, helping her with tasks, protecting her home, and proving that he is present not only physically, but emotionally. By facing their fears openly, they deepen their trust and strengthen the foundation of their relationship. They learn that love is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to confront it together. In acknowledging their vulnerabilities, they discover a new layer of intimacy, one that binds them more tightly than any shared joy or triumph could. This mutual courage paves the way for a love that is enduring, compassionate, and unwavering. After months of shared struggles, small victories, and growing intimacy, the widow and the mountain man reach a turning point where hope, love, and acceptance merge into a new beginning. Their lives, once defined by solitude, grief, and unfulfilled desires, are now intertwined in a partnership built on mutual respect, understanding, and care. They have learned that family is not solely defined by children, but by the bonds we create, the trust we nurture, and the love we offer freely. Together, they have crafted a life that feels rich, full, and meaningful. In their cabin, now warmed not just by fire, but by companionship, laughter, and comfort flow naturally. Evenings are spent cooking together, sharing stories, and planning for the future. Their home has become a sanctuary not only for them but for others in the community, a place of nourishment, both physical and emotional. The widow no longer feels incomplete. She sees her worth reflected in the life they are building, the love they share, and the respect she has earned from those around her. The mountain man, once a shadowed figure of isolation, has discovered belonging and joy in a way he never imagined possible. The story culminates in a quiet celebration of life's small miracles. They realize that happiness is not dependent on achieving every desire, but on embracing what is possible and finding beauty in what they already have. Their partnership becomes a testament to the power of resilience, patience, and unconditional support. Through facing loss, fear, and societal expectations, they have discovered that love can flourish even in unconventional ways, and that hope is not lost when life takes unexpected turns. As the sun sets over the mountains, the widow and the mountain man step outside, hand in hand, looking toward the horizon with a sense of peace and anticipation. They have forged a future together, one filled with warmth, trust, and shared dreams. Their journey has transformed them, teaching them that life's most profound joys often come from what we nurture in each other rather than what we are denied. In this new beginning, they embrace the present, confident that whatever comes next, they will face it together, stronger and more united than ever.